Okay. Okay. So the basic aim of today's session is to obviously talk about your assignment. So just go through a bit about how you would structure your assignment. Yeah, so basically it's the unit one. What we're expecting from you is that you to do an assignment, and it's a work placement in a training department for a large health and social care organization. And you have a manager who's asked you to draft some material for an induction program. Okay, so it's basically an induction program, and it's for new trainees. And this is to give them a background on the health and social care sector where you're working. So what we expect from you is critical thinking, planning, organizing, and time management, gathering information, note-taking, summarizing, analyzing. Your written skills will be assessed, your academic skills, including your references. So we do expect 5 references at least from you, and your application of IT skills. So what you need to do, it's a PowerPoint presentation. So you'll give a PowerPoint presentation which would explain the structure of the health and social care sector in a country of your choice. So whatever country you want to choose, you'll have to talk about the health and social care sector of that country. What your presentation must have is that you need to explain. Now, when the different terms used over here, please make sure whenever you're using any of these, like you're using this bullet, for instance, or you're working on this component within this task, you will have to actually explain. I'll just share my other screen just a minute to give you a better idea of this. So what I mean to say is that when the task says to explain, you're actually going to explain. Whereas when it's saying to just if there's a task that says describe, so you're just describing, you're not explaining in detail. So description is something else, and explaining is something more in detail. So this is a better understanding. So the different useful tips over here that I can give you. So whenever you're reading the task, now I've just given an example of a task. So read the task carefully. Focus on the details. We just talked about command verbs. What is a command verb? Explain is a command verb. Describe is a command verb. Okay, so it will give you an indication of what is required from you. So if it's description, it's describing, it's explanation, or if it's analyzing, it's more in depth. So you have certain command verbs like define, describe, explain, which should be completed in around 70 to 100 words. But when we talk about, we ask you to assess or examine or clarify or analyze, you would use more or less 100 to 125 words, because it is more in depth. You have to make comparisons. You have to talk more about details. And when it is about comparing, contrasting, critically, if we ask about a critical analysis or anything critical with a critical aspect in it, or evaluation, you will explain it in, or you will evaluate it in 150 to 200 words. Is that clear to everyone? Is this concept of command verbs clear to everyone?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And then for Harvard referencing, so you have to use Harvard referencing throughout your text. So for Harvard referencing, there's a reference list also. And within the text also, you have references. So for instance, there's Slack, Johnston, Brandon Jones. So if there are 3 authors, you will mention the second name of the 3 authors, comma, followed by the year when they published. However, when there are more than 3 authors, one author can have the same name, like one author will be there, You'll mention that one author's second name. Second author, first and second will be mentioned. Third, if there are three authors, there'll be three authors mentioned over here. But if it's the fourth author, if it's just one more author, or it's okay, more than you will have the first name of the first author by a comma and et al, ETAL. So it's et al by a comma and the year. Okay. This is in text. So in reference towards the end, it will come as shown, like I'll show you. And limits, you have to stick to them. If there are any word limits, you please stick to those word limits. Otherwise, if there are no word limits mentioned to you, just stick to. We ask you to explain 20 to 100 words. So if you're explaining something in 70 words, you would be asked to rework on your document because we won't efficient material assess it. Okay, there are 4 tasks in assignment. If you want to, they're different you could achieve. So we would want to pass you all. And all the criteria, you should be passing them. So in order to get merit grade, you will need to all of the pass and merits. Pass all the distinction grades. So the first assessment, we just had started talking about it. So second task is prep in depth of it, just preparing a task is it's a written report. You'll be presenting your work. So the first will every if it's a PowerPoint document, anything that you start with, don't forget to write the date, your student name, your student ID, the project's title, and the program that you are in, or the unit's name, the university's name. So there'll be a title page or a title slide giving all those details. And then you will start your work. So ideally, when you start your work, okay, this is another general tip for to give to you. So whenever you're doing any work on Word or PowerPoint, or you're writing a report that's also on Word, or even if it's on a PowerPoint presentation, always give the layout, like what are we expecting. So word pages would be mentioned over there. You will have to give word pages. It doesn't matter if you're giving them at the top of the page or at the bottom of the page, doesn't matter. But that should be there. Your text should be the same throughout your document. Okay, so if you highlight your document, and if within Word, if you go towards home and then you see within Word, if I have the chance, I'll just open up Word and then I'll show you how to make align your document the same, like your Word, your font size and your font style should be the same. You should not use different font sizes or font styles within a document. So for instance, if this is large because it has a heading. And when a reader wants to read your work or assess your work, they would always want to look for these headings. So some students might not lose marks on not using these headings, subheadings, but it gives a very good impression that you've worked very fairly and you've worked quite a bit on your document and you've worked on these intricate things, and it makes the assessor's life easier. That's just my suggestion. If you don't want to do that, it's up to you. But it gives a good appearance that, okay, you've worked in your headings. So you first of all choose a country on which you want to base your answers on, because all this is based on a country that is of your choice. This can be your home country or any other country that you're familiar with or would like to work in. It could be the UK. Refer to this country often throughout the assignment. So whatever we are asking from you, it should be based on this country. Stick to one country only, please. Do not talk about, for instance, a developing country, and then talking about the UK, for instance. Throughout your assignment, there should be one country only. Use tables, graphs, charts, and images to support your answer. Again, if you're using any internet picture, any internet graph, it's not your own. Please remember to document it in the form of a reference. So references will go with that table if you're taking it from any internet source, or a picture that will also be referenced, and then you will give the reference at the end also in the reference lists. Make sure, okay, so this is mentioned over here. So the scenario is you're doing a placement, work placement in the training department of a large hospital and social care organization. As I said, the manager has asked you to draft some material for an induction program. So there's an induction program and for new trainees, and this is to give them a background of the health and social care sector. So what are you going to do? So we're asking for all of these. I've mentioned all of these, that this is expected from you. So you need to prepare a set of slides. So as I said, the first one is based on a set of slides for a presentation. The number of slides has not been mentioned. Okay, so that is open to you. Explain the aims. So now when you're explaining the aims, how many words were you using? Anyone who can recall? How many words were being used? Okay, you can go back that it's recorded. I'll just go back. So if you're explaining, for instance, again, if you're describing, explaining, or defining, it's 70 to 100 words. Okay. And then where were we? We were on this slide. So the manager has asked you to draft some material. Okay, so what are we doing? You are preparing a set of slides. So you're explaining in the set number of words the aims of health and social care provision in your chosen country. So your country, whatever you choose. And then you're going on to describe the organization of health and social care provision within that chosen country. Describe the size of the health and social care sector within your chosen country in terms of total spending. So we've talked about all of these concepts. So it's total spending that you're talking about, employment compared to population size, percentage of the gross domestic product, or the GDP. So this is your third point that you will be doing in this task. And then explain how health and social care provision is funded within your country, within your chosen country. So there are 4 components to this. Everything is explaining and describing. Okay. So again, if you want to gain a merit, you should outline how the sector is regulated. But if you want a distinction grade, you would also analyze. So analyzing takes 200 words. So it's analyzing health and social care spending for your chosen country. So you can give an analysis that how is the spending done and where is it done? What is the impact if it's done on a certain sector, and the other sectors, how are they impacted? So all of this is on the internet. You just have to reference it. So the second task is to prepare a timeline. I hope this first task is clear to everyone. So the second task is you are preparing a timeline or a table relating to your country, whichever country you've talked about in the first PowerPoint presentation. So you will outline the points at which health and social care provision may be required during a lifetime. So you'll have to give a timeline. So for instance, we've talked about timelines. So when there's a child, what health and social care provisions would that child require? When that's an adult, what is the case in that scenario? When it's an older age, what do you require at that time? So all of these stages will be mentioned along with this health and social care provision that is required. Describe again. So this is outlining. This is not in detail. Okay, so you have to just outline, mention them. You're then describing the health and social care services required and provided at each point. So this is an extension of this. So you're describing, first you're outlining and then you're describing the health and social care services that are required and provided at each point in this timeline. Then you explain how services are accessed at each point of provision. How would they be accessed within your chosen country? You should also include a note about longer term provision, which explains the arrangements for longer term provisions. So all of this has been taught to you already. Again, if you want to gain a merit, you would want to analyze barriers to access to provision at different stages of life. And if you want to gain a distinction, you would assess how barriers what barriers are there to access these provisions and how are these overcome. So you will have to talk about your different ways in which you can work on those barriers. So in the first component, you're only talking about what barriers there are. And in the second component, you're talking about how these can be overcome. So you're giving remedies. I hope that's clear. The third task is prepare a handout for trainees. This handout can be in the PowerPoint, in the form of a PowerPoint presentation or a Word document. So you're preparing a handout for trainees that will help them in their choice of specialism or job role. We've talked about what is a specialism or what is a specialist job role. So you would want to analyze the different specialist areas within the health and social care, and you would want to describe a range of health and social care provisions. Okay. Again, to gain a merit, you want to outline how access to professions is regulated. So we talked about the various ways where professions are accessed. So there's some certain organizations that have their say within the professions. So they would be quality check, they could be regulatory check. So you'll talk about all of these. Just refer to your previous presentations on PowerPoint. And then the fourth task is to prepare detailed notes for the basis of a discussion on the final day of the induction program. So what will your notes include? Assess equality of access to health and social care within your chosen country. Explain current public health issues within your chosen country, and to describe current issues in the provision of health and social care within your chosen country. So these are the three things that you will talk about within your detailed notes. So again, to gain a merit grade, you would outline campaigns to address current public health issues. Yeah, that's about it. And then your assignment, when you're preparing it, always put the unit number and the name, your name. Document structure and formatting should be the same throughout the document. Start with a little introduction of the unit, the module. So 30 to 50 words could be sufficient for that. Write down the learning objective that you're mentioning. So it's otherwise, so if it's always good to mention it, because then we know that you're talking about this assignment or this task that you're talking about. Font size should be ideally 12. Your line spacing should be 1.5. So between these two lines, there's a space of 1.5. The page numbers should be inserted. Table of contents should be drawn. So as I said in the beginning, give an introduction of what your document will have. So for instance, on page number 1, you will have this, this, this. On page number 2, you will have this, this, this. So a table of contents should be included. Your conclusion should be around 20 to 30 words, which should conclude your basic task. And then there should be references there. So if yeah, that's about it. Any questions on this?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Thank you for explaining. Cause
Yeah.
I did went on the portal yesterday, trying to search for the assessment question so as for me to start attempting it,